Hi everybody, and welcome to part 3 of Luck of the Gnome. And so we're finally going to get to the gnomes. So the gnomes are going to be in video 3. There's 3 little gnomes. And the first one we're going to do, actually here he is right here. I don't know if you can see him. Here he is. He has little feet that we're going to make the legs, and we're going to make the little shoes first, and then we're going to do the little gnome. And he's done with glitter vinyl, and then he has a little beard, and I think this is a button from the button pack. So we're going to start with making the legs. So the first thing we're going to need, we're actually going to do a little bit of sewing first. So the first thing we're going to do is you cut 2 little pieces for his legs that were 1 by 4.5. And what you're going to do first is you're going to fold, get this tipped back a little bit, there we go. We're going to fold the piece that's 1 inch wide in half so we can find the center. So I folded it in half like this first, okay, and ironed it. And then I'm going to open it up, and I'm going to press each raw edge into the center fold. So it's sort of like making a piece of bias tape. So I'm going to press it in like that, and then I'm going to turn it in. So then you have like a little tube, and we're just going to stitch this shut. So this is the little leg of the gnome. And I've already got the other one stitched. Now these are a little tricky to get stitched. So since they're so narrow, it's a little hard when you put it in your machine. So I'll show you a couple of tricks that I've come up with. They're not always, it doesn't always work, but it usually does. So I'm going to make sure that I start in completely on the fabric, and I'm going to drop my needle. So I'm going to make sure that I've got a little bit of fabric. What happens is it doesn't like to catch on the feed dogs very well. So I'm trying to make sure I've got it completely in on the fabric. I drop my needle, and I'm going to take a couple real slow stitches, and I'm just going to stitch about 1/8 of an inch away from the edge. And what happens sometimes is that it doesn't want to catch because this is so narrow. So did you notice that I kind of stuck my finger under the edge of my foot, and it kind of lets that feed through. So I'm just going to slowly stitch along I'm doing the open side first. It's easier to do the open side first because then it's closed and we don't have to worry about it. So I'm just going to stitch, I'm trying to stitch as close to the edge as I can so it's less than 1/8 of an inch from the edge. And I'm going to take a couple of extra stitches here, and then I'm going to turn it around without cutting the thread. And now we're going to sew on the closed side. And again, I want to do the same thing. I'm going to raise my needle, and I'm going to make sure that I'm dropping my needle down into the fabric so I'm not off the fabric, because it's really hard to get it started otherwise. So I'm going to take a couple slow stitches, and this side usually is easier to start. Okay, and if it happens that you can't get it started with the foot down, just stick your finger under here a little bit, and sometimes it'll just help a little bit to get it going. And I'm just trying to stay as close to the edge as I can. This is very, very narrow. It's only about like 1/8 of an inch wide. Okay, I'm going to stitch off the end and cut. So we're going to make 2 little legs like this. Okay, so you're just going to fold them in half to get the center, and then fold the raw edges to the center, and then fold it in half again. So that's how I got this. And then I stitch down both sides. Okay, so there's the little stitches down the sides. Then it says in the instruction book next, let's see, fold and press the leg. So this is like steps 1, 2, 3, 4, and then it says 5 top stitch each side of the leg. Okay, repeat with additional leg fabric. So I did both legs. And then it says tie an overhand knot in each leg for the knee. So we're kind of in the center. I'm just going to take these, and I'm going to, whoops, I got a little thread sticking out here. Let me trim it off. And I'm just going to take these 2 little guys, and I'm going to make him a knee in the center. So I'm just going to take it, and I'm just going to tie a little knot in the center. So he has little knobby knees. Look at the other one here. Tie a knot. See if I can get it tied here. There's his little knees. So he's got little knees. Okay, so there's our little legs for our dude. I don't know how we want to have him. Maybe we need to does he need to have little knobby knees so that they're kind of opposite like that? There we go. Okay, so there's our little guy's knees. And then we're going to get ready to do the feet. So the little feet are going to be made out of felt, and we're going to add these to the feet. So the next section is going to be embroidery. So I'm going to go ahead and change my foot real quick here. Get my foot changed to my embroidery foot. And we'll bring the little feet design up. So the first little guy, he's in two pieces. So we're going to do one hooping and make the little feet, and then we're going to add them to his body here, okay? So we had those two little pieces first, and then here's the pieces of felt that we needed. The felt is 5 by 2.5. So there's two pieces of that because we're going to put one on the front and one on the back. You're going to want to wind a bobbin of black embroidery thread so you have a little bit of thread because you're going to be sewing on, we're going to be using the front and the back of the hoop, so we want to have matching thread. So I just wound a little bit of my black embroidery thread on my bobbin here, okay? And then we've got, let's see, for the little guy, then we've got a piece of, he's going to be glitter vinyl. So his outfit's going to be glitter vinyl, and the background is this pretty gray. And then his beard is this orange. Okay, so I've got those pieces set aside. We'll do those in a minute, but we're going to need the felt and those little pieces that we just stitched together for his legs. Okay, so I've got my embroidery foot back on here, so let's switch back over to embroidery. Second here. Get these out of the way so I won't lose them, and then I'm going to, so we're going to bring up the design. So this design needs to be in a 5 by 7 hoop, so get your 5 by 7 hoop ready. Go ahead and go back to embroidery mode on the machine here. I'm going to take I think I'm just going to put my black in. I'm going to go ahead and just put the black embroidery thread in the bobbin, because that's the one we're going to do the whole thing with. Well, actually, we're not going to do the whole thing with black. I think we're going to do the whole, just the last one. So I think I am going to go ahead and put show you on what I'm doing here. When I sew on my machine, and if you're using pre-wound bobbins, most of you will need to be doing this. I have my regular bobbin case in my machine right now, and I'm going to go ahead and open this up, and I'm going to take out my regular bobbin case because I'm going to use this black embroidery thread in that bobbin case in a few minutes. But I use pre-wounds when I do most of my stitching, and I'm going to put my pre-wound tight bobbin case. It has like a little polka dot. Can you see the little kind of blue or purple polka dot in there? And that's what I'm going to put in my machine now, because I'm going to put my pre-wound bobbin back in here, because we're going to do a little bit of stitching. We're going to do there's some buckles and some stuff, so I'm going to use my regular pre-wound with that. If you're not using pre-wounds, you do not have to switch your bobbin case out. If you're winding your own brother bobbin thread, the brother or the baby lock bobbin thread, you do not have to change your bobbin case out. But I use pre-wounds, and my pre-wounds are thinner thread, so I do have to change that bobbin case. Okay, so a second here. I'm going to bring over my 5 by 7 hoop. So now something's going to be different with this one. We're going to be using a tearaway in the hoop for this particular little embroidery, because we're going to be making his little feet. So they're like, and then we're going to tear them out of the tearaway. So put a piece of tearaway in your 5 by 7 hoop. So that's what I've got in my hoop. And then I'm going to go to my machine, and let me see, I got to see what the name of the little design is. I just lost my nickel. I always have a nickel up here as a screwdriver. Okay, let's see. We're going to get our little shoes. This is called shoes. Okay, so we're going to go to the stick and go to Luck of the Gnome. And we're not going to be quilting this, so we're just going to embroider it and get his little shoes. So where are his? There they are. There's the shoes. The gnome shoes. Here they are, right here. Okay, so we're going to get those and hit embroidery. Okay, so let's take a look and see what it tells us to do. So I've gone through, so I hooped the tearaway stabilizer. That was step number 8 over here on page 12 of the book. And then it says stitch step number 1, the leg placement line directly on top of the stabilizer. So that's what I'm going to do next. And I think I am just going to put my black in, because we're going to be using black for quite a while, and then I can really see it when I'm sticking things in the hoop. So I'll just stick my black in. I think we're going to do some gold also for the buckles on his shoes, or some yellow. All right, so let's just get I'm just going to put the black in so I can see it. Since the shoes are black, that ought to be fine. I got my bobbin thread in the bobbin with my tighter bobbin case since I'm using my pre-wounds. All right, so it says stitch step number 1, the leg placement line. Okay, so we got it all ready to go, and we have to put the little legs in. So we're going to put his little legs in, and I'm just going to see if I've got them kind of done correctly here. Let's see. I'm going to make them so that I'm going to look at my knots here. I'm not very good at knots, so we'll see. But I think I'm going to put the open side to the outside. So it looks like he has little knees, doesn't it? Okay. So I've got these kind of laid the way I want them. So I'm just going to lay them over here. And it says to stitch out the placement line for the little legs. So we're going to stitch this out. And then it says place the legs 1/4 inch beyond the line, tape in place. So his shoes are going to be down here. So we're going to put we're going to make sure there's about 1/4 inch down here so that the little legs will be covered in the shoe. And we're going to tape them down. So I'm going to put my legs in, and I've got my open sides on the outside. So I'm going to lay this little leg in, put it down about 1/4 inch, and I'm going to tape it down. Okay, I'm just going to lay that there. I think I'll tape them both down together, and I'm going to make sure this one's the same way. Let's see. Can't see the edge here. Probably should go put my glasses on, shouldn't I? All right, I think that looks right. So then we'll lay this one in, and I'm going to make sure they're about 1/4 inch. Just pull this down so it's a little easier. Lay these down so that they're about 1/4 inch below the line so that they'll stitch in. And I'm just going to put tape right over the top there so that nothing will catch. And I'm covering up the whole thing. I don't want to worry about anything catching. Looks like they're about 1/4 inch there. I might have this one just over a little bit. Let's try that. Let's check this one. Make sure we got it where we want it. Like that. There's kind of a little dip in the placement line, so just make sure you get it below there. There. I think you'll be good. Okay, so there's our little legs. And I think I'm going to go ahead and just put a piece of tape up here too, so we don't have any problems with the legs flipping over on us. We'll stick a little piece of tape up there too. All right. And the second step in the machine says stitch the leg tack down line. Do not remove the tape. So we're going to go ahead and stitch step number 2 in the design, and we're just going to tack the legs in. And it's going to go right through the tape, which is fine, because I can always pull that out later. But that way I know it's nothing's going to catch or pull out or anything. And these are going to be inside the shoe, so you won't ever see them. And let's see, what's the next step? Oh, stitch the felt placement line is going to be the next one. So I'm just going to do these all in black right now. So step number 3 is going to be a placement line, and it does say stitch the felt, do not remove the tape after the leg tack down. So we're going to leave the tape in here because when it's doing the little placement line for the shoes, we don't want the legs to get caught. So we're just going to go ahead and leave that tape in there and do number 3. Stitch the felt placement line, remove the tape. So then we can remove the tape after that. There's his little feet. He's got cute little turned up toes on his shoes here. Remove the tape, pull the legs together at knee, and tape in place. I've already taped mine, so I think they're okay up there. Got my book in here, so it's getting hot. There we go. Okay. So now we're going to remove the tape. So there's his little feet and his shoes. Okay, so what I think I am going to do, it does say to pull these in, and I think I can see why. So let's pull these in a little bit more. Let's take the tape off here. And if you have a little tape inside of his shoes, it's never going to show. So I'm just going to get as much of it out as I can. But that way the little feet and everything were, or the little legs were not caught. But I can see why they're telling you to pull these in, because that way they don't get caught in the satin stitching over here. So we're going to pull them in a little bit more. When I have stuff that's loose like this in the hoop, I always tape it. I'm not a big taper, but this kind of stuff, if you don't tape it, it sure gets caught. All right. I was looking forward to doing the gnomes. They're so cute. And they're all kind of cute. We have a couple of them have the little legs, and one of them doesn't. So I think it'll be really fun. Okay, so I got my piece of tape that was up here, but it says to kind of pull them together at the knees here. And we're going to pull them together in the center here to get them away from that edge right there, so that they don't get caught in the satin stitching. So I'm just going to kind of bring them together. Whoops, second here. Must have pulled my stabilizer there. Should be okay. I'm going to put a little, I'm actually just going to stick a little piece of tape. See what I did? I kind of ripped my stabilizer right there. So I'm just going to make sure that it's all right. I'm just going to put a piece of tape back over it. I must have just ripped my stabilizer a little bit. It'll be fine. Just hold it down. I think it'll be okay. I'll pull this off a little bit more. So it's off of the, there we go. Just kind of holding that one section down. There we go. And we'll tape down his little knees. So we're going to kind of pull them away here into the center like that, so that they're away from these little spots, because there's going to be some little stitching right here. We don't want them to get caught. Make sure these are stuck down good. Okay, so there's his little shoes. Okay, so we got that done. Stick the tape down. And then it says to place, see, pull the legs together at knee and tape in place. That's number 12. And then 13 says place the felt completely covering the placement line, tape in place. And then we're going to do the same thing on the back. So I'm going to take the one piece of my felt and I'm going to lay it down, make sure it completely covers everything. Okay, and we're going to put a little piece of tape on each side of this. Like that. And then we're going to turn it over, and I'm going to make sure that I cover this on the back as well. Okay, so we're going to cover that up, and then you're going to want to be real careful when you put the tape on. Make sure it's good and stuck down on the back, because sometimes it likes to come off. So we're going to make sure we get it good and stuck down on the back. This is the Kimberbell paper tape. It works quite well. I don't always tape on the back. I often use glue, but the felt doesn't stick too well with the glue. So I'm going to use the tape, and I'm just going to make sure that I have it well stuck down on the back. Okay, so there's our back, and I'm going to flip this back over, and we're going to put it into the machine again. But I think we might need to change our let's see here, what does this say? Stitch the legs, we did that. Stitch the felt placement line, remove the tape, pull the legs together at the knee, we did that. Place the felt completely covering the placement line, tape in place, did that. Turn hoop 2 back, place felt completely covering the placement line, tape in place. So we got it on the front and the back. Okay. Okay, here we go. Change thread and bobbin to black. Stitch the shoe satin outline. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead, and at this point I also need to change my bobbin case, because I'm using these pre-wound. So I'm going to take this bobbin case out with my pre-wound in it, and I'm going to put in my regular bobbin case again with my embroidery thread in it, like this. Okay, oops, put my needle plate on. It's a little easier if I do that. Nope, maybe it's like something goofy here. Just a minute. Make sure I get my bobbin case all the way down. There we go. There we go. And I'm going to put this in. This is my embroidery bobbin thread, or my embroidery thread, I should say, black embroidery thread. And if you have black bobbin thread, like I have a pre-wound, I could have just used the black thread like that, and that would have been fine too. Okay, so let's go ahead and put this back in. I'm going to check underneath here to make sure that that everything is stuck down and it didn't move on me. Okay. And then the next step is going to be stitch the shoe satin outline. So we're going to go ahead and we got our black thread in there. We've got the black in the bobbin. And then now it's going to do the shoes. Got everything taped down. It's going to do like a little satin outline. Now it does say to use the gold in the bobbin too, so I am going to switch over and do my yellow. I'll wind a bobbin while this is stitching. I forgot to wind the bobbin for the yellow, so they do put it on the back. So wind a bobbin with your yellow or gold that you're going to use for your buckle. I'll do that real quick while this is stitching. Because I love my machine that I can wind bobbins while I'm stitching. I don't think we'll need too much yellow. I'm going to use my Daffodil, which is number 0104, I believe. There we go. So I've got my bobbin wound. Oh dear, now I'm going to have a cat helper. I apologize, everyone, if you see an orange cat in the middle of my video here, but all right, so it's doing a satin stitch. I thought it was going to do an outline, but this one does a satin stitch. That's cool. And then we're going to do the little buckles. How cute is that? So we're making them little feet, and I think there's another. I think one of the other ones we have to make feet for too. And I think there's three. There's 3 gnomes, and 2 of them have legs, and the other one doesn't. So this one's doing the satin stitch. Excuse me. So there's our little feet, and then we're going to do the buckle, and then I think we're done. I had to feed the cat because, you know, I couldn't even sit down until she was fed. So she's been fed, so she's pretty happy now. Whoops, I'm gonna break a needle here. Just a minute, we're having an issue. May back up a little bit. One of my black spool thread every now and then catches at the bottom. So I think I'm gonna back up a little bit and stitch this again. I hit my negative positive needle. I'm going to back up maybe down to here because it looks like it started it maybe down here. I got to really pay attention with it because when they get kind of empty, every now and then they'll catch. So let's go back up to there. I want to make sure that it looks nice. There we go. Okay, so I just backed up. I think it's okay now. Yesterday, while I had the camera off, while I was making the video, I actually did break a needle because it caught. Now it's going to catch again. Just a second here. Okay, I think we're okay now. You always have to have a little problem with something, you know. I think we're doing okay. So I just backed up about 100 stitches because I noticed it started doing something kind of weird there, and I think it's okay now. Yep. That doesn't sound good. I think it's okay though. Oh, I think I ran out of bobbin thread. You see, I think I ran out of bobbin thread. Sometimes it won't stop. My machine is dirty. I need to take it in and have it cleaned, and it did not stop. So you get to watch me fix it. Because when it made that little funny noise, did you hear it? That means I need some bobbin thread. So we'll just wind some bobbin thread. You get to watch me fix things tonight, I guess. I'll make some more. We're almost done too. It always runs out right before you're done. Have you ever noticed that? That always happens. So let me get this out of the way. Just a second. I've got thread in my way up here. It's going to get caught in my bobbin winder. Yeah, my bobbin sensor is not working very well because I know my machine really needs to be cleaned. I was doing a bunch of cotton stuff and it gets very, very linty. And then you get some fluff over your, there we go, stop. You get some fluff over your, there's like little lights that make the bobbin sensor stop. And then you get a little fluff over those lights and then it doesn't stop. So that's what happened, is it just made that funny noise and it didn't stop. All right, so now we're going to back up again. Looks like I need to back up maybe 50 or 60 stitches here. There we go. Let's try this again. I'll put my thread back in. Whoops, there goes my bobbin, my spool thread. This spool thread, I'm going to be happy when it's empty because it's been doing the little trick that it catches on the bottom. When they get tight at the center, sometimes they catch on the bottom. Okay, so let me go ahead and tie. I'm just going to tie off. On the Luminaire, did you know that you can actually tie off in the embroidery mode now? I love that. Because if you're doing satin stitches, then things don't come out. Didn't used to be able to, you can't do that with some of the machines, but this one has that feature. I love that. So I backed up about, 50, 60 stitches so that I could catch that. Let's see if we can finish it this time. Get his shoes done, and then we got to do his buckles yet. So hopefully I wound enough yellow for my buckles. So far it's doing okay. Shouldn't say anything because something will happen. Yeah, it's time for my machine to be serviced. I use my machine a lot, so. Okay, there's are his outlines of his shoes, and now we're going to do the buckles. So we're going to put in matching thread again. So I'm going to go in here and get my matching thread, take out the black and put in the yellow. So I'm using my Daffodil. This is 0104 Daffodil. I wanted my buckles to be bright. So I'm going to use the yellow. And then I'll put the same color in the needle. I didn't know it was going to take us this long to make his legs. I think the rest of him will go pretty quick. Sorry about the problems, everybody. Well, but you know, sometimes it's better that if I have a little problem, you can see me fix it, right? It happens. Every now and then, something just doesn't work quite right. All right, so put this back in. I've got my matching thread in the bobbin. And we're going to do the buckles. This is step number 5 to his little legs. And then his legs will be done. So this is going to be a little full stitch. And then I think what we need to do is we're going to remove it from the hoop, tear away the stabilizer, and then we're going to trim around the shoe. And we got to make sure we don't trim through his legs. So that would be bad. We don't want to trim through his legs. So we'll have to be careful. There's little buckles. Those look cute. I like the bright yellow. Here we go. Got one of them done, and here's the second one. So I had to back up a couple of times, but you know that happens sometimes. That little negative positive needle button is very handy when that stuff happens. All right. Find my scissors that I wanted to use for this. Here they are. And it says to remove from the project from the hoop, tear away the stabilizer, trim around the shoes about 1/8 from the edge of stitching, and do not cut the leg fabric. So we'll see how we do with that. So I'm going to pull off my tape here. So we got to sew our little legs together. We got to make our shoes. Let's see if I can get a hold of one side of my shoe. Doesn't look too good on the back because it caught on my, but it's fine. It doesn't look that bad. I don't think you'll really notice it because it will be on the back of the shoe. I'll just make sure I get it on the back. I'm going to trim some of these little ends so I don't have all these little ends on the back. There we go. Okay, and we're going to take this out. And then we're going to tear the stabilizer out. So what I do with these is you can kind of tear right up to the edge of where the satin stitching is and get the rest of the tape off here. There we go. These are fun little guys. I've been anxious to do these. Okay, so I'm going to pull this back and I'm going to make sure that I can tear right up to the satin stitching on its shoes. So you don't want to see that white in there. So try to get as close as you can. Then there's his little legs. Now we got to be careful we don't want to cut his legs when we go to trim this. So if you got a little bit of stabilizer you don't like, we might have to pull a little bit of it out when we get down to these little pointy toes here. Okay, so there's his shoes. Okay. All right. And boy, I've got a really weird little spot right there. That's where my thread ran out of bobbin, so I may have to do these over again after. I'll turn the camera off and do them again maybe, huh? But I'll show you how to trim them. All right, so we're going to trim these. I'm going to grab my glasses here just a second. Maybe. Not sure where they ended up. Oh, here they are. I spend most of my life looking for my glasses. Oh yeah, we got a little knot here. See, I should have gone all the way back. You know, I may just do these over, but I'll show you how to trim them and then I'll just do them over real quick. I can take my little legs out and do them over. But we'll trim them. We're going to trim about 1/8 of an inch from the stitching. Yeah, my machine has been acting up a little bit lately and it's time for it to be serviced and I just hate to give it up. I'm sure you all understand. All right, so we're going to trim this. Oops, didn't do a very good job on that side. Trim them around, and then when you get around here, you want to be real careful. You're not going to cut your legs. So we're going to make sure that we're not cutting our legs. So you're going to have to cut the top separate from the back. And then there's a little piece of white in here that we'll have to do, but you just don't want to cut your legs. Because I couldn't get into the stabilizer in here, but we can get some of that, more of that out. Okay, so about 1/8 of an inch away. Just don't cut into your legs. So I'm kind of cutting up, and I'm going to cut these in half, like that, just to make it a little easier. And then let's work down here, and around this way. That makes him some little shoes. He's got little turned up toes. Those are going to be cute. And then when you go to do the, the top where his little legs are, I'm going to pull as much of the stabilizer out as I can. Then we're going to, oops, got my scissors stuck on my thumb. We're going to do the top separate from the bottom. So you're going to have to be careful. Don't cut into your little leg. Okay. I'm just cutting through the top here. So there's that part. So there's his little leg sticking out of the top of his shoe, and then let's turn it over. See if I can get a little bit more out of this little corner here. Looks pretty good. I don't know if you'll see that little spot on mine. I might not do these over. It'll be fine. All right, so then we're going to do the back. So just be careful not to cut your leg. So I'm just doing the back of it here. Around the side. Oops, here. Where did there we go. There's a little piece of stabilizer in there yet, so I'll have to try to get it out. Trying not to catch I don't want to catch my leg. There he is. All right. All right. And then there's a little piece over here, there's a little piece of stabilizer, but we can get that out. And there's a little piece here yet, so I can get that out. And then clean up my little trims right here. Okay. So there's one shoe. So let's get the other shoe here. Could be a little closer over here. There we go. There's this little shoe. Looks pretty good. All right, so let's get this out of the way and we'll do the other one. So just be careful. So this one doesn't look too great. I don't know. That might be all right. I should have backed up a little bit further. Actually, that's the back. That's the back. I'll be good. I won't do it again. That's the back. Nobody's going to see it. Okay. It's black. So we're going to trim this. Get up into the little point here. Go around the toe. That was where my machine ran out of bobbin thread. Made it mad. That's why it made that funny little noise. Yeah, I just got done doing a cross stitch, and I was using cotton thread, and man, is that stuff, I really need to blow my machine out. It gets very linty, and then it causes the bobbin sensor not to work very well. It just got lint and fluff over it, I'm sure. All right, so I got to be careful not to cut my leg over here. Don't want to break his leg. All right, there we go. So I'm going to try to get underneath the top layer. Like that. Just be careful of your leg. I think we're doing okay. I'm making a mess on my machine, aren't I? Okay, go around the curve here. There we go. There's his little leg. Let's do the back. He looks pretty good. Yeah, that little mess that was on the back, it's on the back. I'll just leave it. It's fine. No one's going to see it. All right. Trim this side, and then I'll turn it over so I can see where I'm going. Just that, and then around the little curve here. And out the end. There we go. Can't get it off my finger. There we go. There's his little feet. Oh my gosh, those are cute. I like that. And then it's his little knees. Okay. So just a second, I got my scissors stuck in my finger again. And there's his little feet. Just need to do a little trimming yet. Got a couple little spots, but there's his little feet. Get some of that off my machine so you can see better. Aren't they cute? There's his little feet. So now we're going to move on to the little gnome guy and do his body, and then we're going to attach these actually to the little gnome guy. So give me a moment. I'm going to turn the camera off for a little bit, and then I'm going to set up. I'm going to be putting no-shell mesh in my hoop, and we're going to be doing the quilting, of course, with this. So there's his little legs. They're all ready to go. All right, I'll be right back when we start working with the little gnome. Okay, so we're ready to do the little gnome's body, and there are some specialty trimming instructions, so we're going to have to look for placement of the design. I've got my 5x7 hoop, and I'm going to use Plaid 1, and it says to trim the square to 4.5 by 6.5. So in other words, it's going to be 4x6 finished. So we're going to use Plaid 1 4x6 for the quilting design. So we're going to bring our quilting design in first, like we have been, okay? And I'm going to go ahead and get my Plaid 1 for, this is Gnome 1. Got to go down here to the plaids here, just a second. I got to flip it down a little bit further here. I have a lot of designs in this one. There we go, Plaid 1. And then this is going to be 4x6. So let's go find the 4x6 design. 4x6 is right here, and then we're going to hit set, and then the little design is the Gnome 1, so we're going to hit add right here, and we're going to go get Gnome 1. So now we're going to have to pay attention to the placement of the design, because there are some specialty trimming instructions here, so we'll have to watch that. Let's see, whoops, where'd he go? There we go. Luck of the gnome. We're going to go find Gnome 1. So where is he? Let's see. I think it's this little guy right here with the little stem in his hand. So it's this little guy right here. Okay. Yep, that's it. Okay, we're gonna, and then, yeah, he's got a little shamrock on his head. So we're gonna set that. Now, what it says is that when I look at my cutting instructions, it says that his little tush needs to be 1/4 of an inch from the cut line. So when I'm looking at him here, the cut line is going to be this line at the bottom here. That's kind of like the outside edge of the quilting. So we're going to need to move him down so that he's about 1/4 of an inch above that. Well, the 1/4 of an inch above that is going to be this line right here. That is like that's where the batting placement and tack down line is. So we're going to just move his little tush down there so that it's down on that line. And then it's 1/4 of an inch from the end. So that looks pretty good. So he's basically going to sew, we're going to sew right up to his little tush in the seam line, and then his legs are going to dangle down into the block below. Okay, so I've got him moved down. I left him centered this way, but I moved him down so he's about 1/4 of an inch from the cutting line. So that's how you know with these instructions, you know, they didn't give you information about where to place the design. So this one you kind of have to look at the cutting instructions. So he's 1/4 of an inch from the outside edge. Okay, so I think that's where we want him. So I'm going to click OK. I'm going to hit embroidery. And of course, we're going to start with the quilting. And we've done this quite a few times now. So we're going to do our, whoops, second here. It helps Jan if I put my white thread in. So we're going to quilt in white. Helps if Jan puts her white thread in though. Whoops, second here. I've got white thread in the needle, and then I've got my embroidery bobbin thread in the bobbin again. I put my pre-wound bobbin back in. And I'm going to stitch out my placement line for the batting here. Looking for some scraps of batting that I can use. Here, I think this one's big enough. Do our placement line, and then we're going to do our tack down line for the batting. I think everybody's getting to be old pros at this quilting. I love quilting these pillows this way because they're all quilted. The quilting designs are really cute, and they're seasonal, and they just look so nice on the pillows. I usually still quilt my quilts a different way, but you can also do them this way, and they're really cute. So it depends on if you like to have your quilt quilted all the way through. I usually choose to quilt my quilts in a different method using my machine. And then I use these quilting designs for all the, like the pillows and the small items. All right. Oh, he's going to be so cute. We got to put his legs in towards the end, I think. I got his legs laying over here. Okay, so then I've got my piece of fabric ready. I'm going to go ahead and trim this off around the stitching line. So remember, we moved the little design down so it's like even with this line, because this is where this will be where the seam allowance basically will be. So thanks for putting up with my little problem in the first part of the video. I mean, you got to see me have a problem. I have problems too. I have problems every time I sew. Sometimes you don't see them on the videos though, so it's good to show you. Okay, then we're going to do our placement line for the fabric. So we're going to get our fabric ready here. Oops, got my book caught. And then let's see. Then we're going to put our fabric down and get him quilted. Okay, so here's our fabric. This is that pretty gray with the little lines in it. I'm going to lay this in here and try to get it as centered as possible. It's pretty good. And then I'm going to tack it down. So that's step number 4. And then step number 5 will be the quilting. So now we're going to do the plaid quilting in here. And I'll start the quilting. I'm just leaving my white thread in there, and then we'll be ready to start the little guy. And I gotta read the directions to see what we have to do first. I think we're going to put his legs in first. So I'll get that all ready, and we'll be back in a moment, and we'll start working on the little gnome. Okay, so we are all quilted. There's that pretty plaid quilting, and the first step of the actual design is going to be the little legs. So we're going to make some placement lines. So I put in my 1262 Valley Green, which is going to be the one that matches my glitter vinyl, for my placement of my legs. And we're going to lay the legs in after these are done. It says place the completed gnome legs and shoes with the leg fabric a quarter above the stitch line, and then we're going to tape those in place. So we got our little lines here. So give me a second, and we're going to put our little legs in here. So we'll tape those in place. We're going to lay and make sure we put our legs on correctly. Jan sometimes can get things in backwards, so I think it goes this way, right? His little toes are going to be pointing out, hopefully. Okay. I'm going to find a piece of tape. All right, so we're going to lay our little legs in here. Make sure we get the toes going the right way. And about 1/4 inch above that little line. So they have a little bit of grip to grip into that. So I'm just going to put a piece of tape over those. Okay. And then the next step is going to be the tack down line. It says place the legs, and then you're going to do a tack down line. It says do not trim the fabric. So we're just going to tack them down. Okay. And I'm just going to leave the tape on for not this moment, because I don't know that it tells me to remove the tape. Let me see. The tack down. Do not remove the tape until after stitching machine step 5. So in other words, we're going to leave it on until we're ready to do the final bit of stitching, because we don't want our legs to get stuck. So I think he looks pretty cute. He's got his little toes facing the right way. Okay. So we're going to leave that on there. And now we're going to move on to, it's going to do the beard next. So we're going to do the beard. And this is the placement line for the beard. So I'm going to use my, I'm going to switch over to my 1255 dark Texas orange for the beard, because the fabric was quite orange. So let me get my orange thread, and we'll put that in. And we'll do his beard. Okay, just a second here. And we're going to do the placement line for that. Just making sure I got his little feet. They look pretty good, so I think we got them in there all right. See, that's why they want you to leave the tape in here, so because you're getting kind of close to these legs and stuff. You don't want anything to catch. So, all right. So I am going to pull this out of here before I put my fabric in. This little piece inside here. I don't want that to be in my inside underneath my fabric. And then it says to place your fabric, and then we're going to do the beard tack down line. So here's my little piece of beard fabric. It's very orange. And then we're going to stitch that down, and then we're going to trim the fabric. All right, so we're going to trim our beard. Oh my gosh, she's going to be so cute. It's going to have little feet. These look really cute. All right, so we're going to trim our fabric close to the stitches. I think this is going to have a satin stitch on it. Just be careful. Don't trim into your legs or something. I would be doing that, you know. I was having trouble with the thread a little bit ago. You know, I'll probably trim into my legs next. I think I've made every mistake there is to make with an embroidery machine. So it's good that you get to see me make mistakes on the videos too. I make lots of mistakes. That's how I've learned. I've spent lots of time making mistakes. Okay, so the one thing I think I am going to do is I'm going to pull this back. I don't want that to be in, oh no, this is going to be an outline, so I'm going to leave this in. We're not doing the satin stitch yet. We're going to do the outline for the body. So the body is going to be back in that Valley Green again, 1262. And then we're going to put our glitter vinyl down. So this is step number, the body and hat placement line is step number 5. So after this, we'll take the tape off because we don't want the satin stitch. I'm just reading. Follow the color chart. After stitching step number 5, the body and hat placement line, place the glitter sheet in place of fabric. Remove the clear. We got to remember to take our glitter or our carrier sheet off this glitter. So while this is stitching, we'll take that little clear glitter sheet off, the carrier sheet off, I should say, off of my glitter. Get that off. So we just have glitter showing. There he is. That's his hat. Got a tail over here. We'll get rid of this tail so it doesn't show under our vinyl here. There we go. There we go. Okay, so now it says to place that, stitch the machine, step 6, the body and hat tack down line, trim the glitter close to the stitch line, being careful not to trim the legs. Okay, so now I think we're going to want to take this off, because it said till after step number 5, because we don't want this tape underneath our glitter. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this off, and then I still might tape below this just so that these legs are adhered down a little bit. So let's just take this tape off, and then let's put some down further so that it won't be in the way of our glitter vinyl. It looks like I need to trim my legs just a little bit. Let me trim. I got a bunch of little hairs here, so let me just trim these off the top so that it doesn't show in my glitter vinyl. Okay, so I'm going to take another piece of tape and I'm just going to put it lower down here just to hold these down so that they don't flip up on us. You know, with my luck, they'd flip up. So there we go. Okay, so now we're ready to put the glitter vinyl down. Make sure you cover his hat because it's whole body. His body and his hat. So let's make sure we get him all covered. Second, I still got some threads in here. There we go. Get this all covered. And then I'm just going to hold it, and then it's going to do the tack down line for the glitter vinyl. I'm still using my green, and this is number, what is the number? 1262 Valley Green. Then we're going to trim our glitter, and then we're going to press it like we normally do. I've got my iron warmed up over here, and we're going to press this down after we get this all stitched down. Got my iron ready to go over here. Oops, here. Sure, I better hold his body so nothing moves around under there. Place the glitter, body tack down, trim the glitter, and iron the glitter. Okay, I can do that. Sometimes I'm a little bit, I kind of paraphrase the instructions. This is on page 13 in the book. I like to look at the color chart because I find it easier for me than it is for me to read the instructions. Now, we want to be real careful when we get down here, though, because we don't want to cut our legs off. So make sure that you're on top of your legs so that they don't get cut off. There we go. We're going to trim around the glitter, and then we're going to press this down. Isn't he going to be pretty? He's going to have such a pretty outfit on. All glittery and shiny. I love glitter vinyl. I've really gotten so I really like it. At first I was like, why are they putting glitter vinyl on here? But you know what? I love it because it is really attractive. Shows off a lot of pretty, so glittery and shiny. I'm going to work on the hat here a little bit since I'm in the right orientation here. Go up. And there is going to be a satin stitch, so you don't have to be like super duper close, but I don't like it to be too far away. So you don't want any of the edges to show. Boy, this one's really, this is kind of a tough one because it's got this little space in here where his hat goes up. In here. But it's kind of fun for me to do this with you. I feel like I'm sewing right along with you, and I don't know what's going on either, so hopefully I will be okay and we won't make a huge major mistake. So we've been doing okay so far. We just had a little trouble with my machine decided to act up for a minute. But you know what? Sometimes that happens. So it's good that it happened on the camera, because you can see that it happens. All right, so I'm good. Oops, sir. Almost missed there. I think I'm not quite close enough on this one. Look at it a little closer. There we go. I got to finish his body here. Down his, oh my goodness. This is really matchy thread, so it's hard to see. It comes down here. His little beard's there too. There we go. Around here. I'm going to keep this little piece here because that's probably big enough for another applique. You know, sometimes you don't need very much of this glitter vinyl when you go to use it for an applique. So I keep all these little scraps like this because sometimes you just need a little bitty piece. Okay, well there he is. Oh my gosh, isn't he cute? Now we're going to take him over here, and I'm just going to lay this up here, and I'm going to take my little iron and my pressing cloth. And we're going to press our glitter vinyl down. About 20-30 seconds, okay? And I'm putting a little pressure on it. And this one I'm going to have to do in a couple little spots because it's kind of long. It's got a little body down here in his hat. So we'll press it a couple of places. Make sure we got it. And then we're ready to do the satin stitching. I think we're going to start with what? We're going to always, he has little arms, so we're going to start with his arms. Okay, there he is. Looks pretty good. Got his legs still attached there. There we go. So there is his beautiful little body. And now I'm going to let it cool just a little bit. And then we're going to work, the next step is going to be his little arms. And I'm actually going to make his arms kind of that gold color. So it's 1300 golden basket. So we're going to switch over and do his arms. Oops, here, there. Has to do with his arms are kind of a satin stitch. All right. And then the next part will be the decorative outline of the body. And that's going to be more of a decorative, instead of it's like a motif stitch kind of. It's not a satin stitch. This is going to be a little satin stitch. And then we're going to put that Valley Green 1220 or 1262 back in. Oh my gosh, he's going to be so cute. I've been anxious to do these. These were kind of the 3 cutest blocks in the whole thing. I like all of them, but I just thought these were really cute. And I like the way they added the little legs and stuff, so something different. But I figured the 3 gnomes would take us about 2 hours to do all of them. The second one, I think it's the second one, doesn't have any legs, so he won't be as long. But the last one we have to do legs again, so might take a little longer to do those. But I'll turn the camera off for some of this decorative stitching. Okay, so now the next step is going to be his body. So it's going to do the decorative stitch on his body. And this one definitely, it's definitely a motif. So you notice that I used the green for the tack down line too, because it might show through. So I like to change my thread for my tack downs to match my finishing stitch, whatever it is, because every now and then I think, oh, it won't matter. I'll just do it in white, and then it ends up being a motif stitch. So I usually change my thread now. I've gotten burned a few times. So, okay, so I'm just going to do the little decorative stitch around his body. And I'll be back in a moment, and the next step is going to be his beard. We're going to work on his beard. Okay, so now I'm going to put in my 1255 dark Texas orange, and it's going to do the satin stitch on his beard. So we'll get that started, and I think then we're going to move on to his hat. So we'll go back to the green for that. Okay, so we're ready for his hat, and that's going to be another decorative stitch, so a motif style stitch. And this is 1262, the Valley Green. So it's going to do that, and then the next step will be there's a little clover on his forehead of his hat. Okay, so now we're ready for the little clover design on the bottom of his hat, like on his forehead. And then we'll do his gloves and the cuffs of his gloves of his hands. And and then there's a little flower stem in his hat. Or in his hand, I should say. So here's the clover. Sorry, my cat decided to come back. You may see an orange tail in the camera here in a minute. All right, so I'm ready for his little gloves, and they're going to be black. Now I'm going to watch that black. That's that black the black was the one I was having trouble with earlier. So I'll watch it to make sure it doesn't get caught. It was not being very cooperative earlier. So there's his little hands, and then he's going to have little cuffs, and the cuffs will be white. There's his little hands. And have the other ones down here. Get my white ready to put his little cuffs on. And I think the little guy has a little nose, like a button nose. Yeah, they put like little wood buttons on, or little beads, wood beads on the noses. They're so cute. And that'll be put on when we go do the embellishments. Because he doesn't have a face, he just has a little nose that sticks out from under his hat. So we'll do his hands. Now we're going to put the white in, so my thread cooperated this time. So let's get the white in and do the cuffs of his little gloves. And then he has a little stem that is going to be in his hand, so we'll have to put the emerald green, I think, is the last step. So we'll put this in. Gigi thinks she's going to get my thread. She's here helping me. She likes to sit on my lap sometimes when I sew, and I've been sewing a lot this weekend, so I think she's upset with me since I haven't been paying attention to her. So she's sitting here on my lap helping. So there's this cuff. We'll do a second cuff, and I got to get my green ready again to do the stem. I think there's a little button flower on the stem. Oh my gosh, that's so cute. Can't wait to see it without the tape on his knees. So cute. And then we'll trim this. This is another little cuff. All right, so I think we're ready now for the green stem. Yep. And then we'll trim it. What a cute block. These were all so cute. I like gnomes anyway, and when I first saw this come out, like, oh, I have to do this, and I bought the kit right away, and I just never got around to it. And I thought, oh, this year is gonna be the year I'm gonna make this. I did the other smaller pillow a couple of years ago, and when it first came out, I really like it. Lucky Us, that's the 18-inch one. It was either a year or two. I can't remember if it was a year or 2 years ago. I made that. And it's so cute too. There's the stem for his little button flower. All right. There we are. I'm going to let it finish, and then I'll trim I got a couple little tails here sticking up. And I'll show it to you without his knees taped. And then I'll set up over here so we can trim him. Look. There he is, and he has his little legs. I even managed to get the legs on right, and there's his little knees. Isn't that cute? So that's going to be like, so these will be like sewn together here, and then the blocks, and then his little legs are going to like hang down into the block below him. So isn't he darling? Okay, so give me a minute. I'm going to get my cutting set up over here, and we'll get this one trimmed. Okay, so I've got him all ready. We're going to tape his legs. We don't want to trim his legs, so I'm going to tape his legs up here over his head so we don't get his legs trimmed off at the bottom. So we'll have to be careful that we don't catch anything. So I'm just going to tape him up here, get him out of the way. And he's going to be trimmed to 4.5 by 6.5. So I have my 4.5 by 6.5 ruler here. And I'm going to line it up with the placement line marks. And remember, we wanted this to be 1/4 of an inch below. So make sure it's a good 1/4 of an inch below so there's room to do the seam allowance there. So I think that'll be good. Get him lined up. I'm just kind of using the little placement lines to help me. And then I like to put the bigger ruler in just to help me hang on to it a little bit better. Okay. Make sure the tape's stuck down so I won't catch his leg. All right, so then we're going to trim this down to 4.5 by 6.5. Just be, the one thing I've learned about these rulers is I'm just kind of careful and I don't cut really fast. I just kind of take my time, pull back into the corner and move forward. So just take your time, don't get in a hurry with these. And I think it did take me a while to get used to the fact that I was cutting on the inside. And it really is fine after you've done it a little bit, but I did have to just take my time and do it slowly. There we go. Okay. I think I got it. Whoops, I had a couple little spots. I got to go put a new blade in my rotary cutter now. All right, so here we can untape him. We didn't cut his legs off. Yay. All right, there he is. He's ready to be sewn into the pillow, and then there'll be another little block right below him, and his little legs will dangle down into the block below him. So I'm going to set up then for gnome number 2, and this one I don't think has any legs. It's the third one that has the legs. So I'll be back in a moment after I set up for the next gnome. Okay, so this is going to be gnome 2. And he's also going to be in a 5 by 7 hoop. When I went down to the bottom, it says that it's going to trim at 4.5 by 4.5. So for our Plaid 1 quilting design, we're going to choose a 4 by 4 since it's going to be trimmed at 4.5 by 4.5. He has a piece of, he has this pretty yellow background. And then his hat is out of the polka dot glitter vinyl, and then here's his little beard again. Okay, so we got these 3 little pieces. This one shouldn't take too long. And then this one has some special trimming instructions as well. So we're going to look down here, and it says square finish block to 4.5 by 4.5 with the gnome beard on the bottom edge of the ruler. So we're going to be moving them down probably. So let's go ahead here, and we're going to go find our 4 by 4 plaid. So let's go get the quilting design up first. Here's the quilting. Go down to the plaid again. We'll be using the other ones, I think I'm going to use the shamrocks for the rest of them, but we'll be using those starting pretty soon. All right, let's see here. There it is, plaid 1. Oops, got in the wrong folder. I need the embroidery designs. There we go. And we're going to use the 4 by 4. There's 2 by 2. Here's 4 by 4. So 4 by 4. So this one's going to be square. Going to set that. And then we're going to go get gnome 2. So I'm going to hit the add button. I'm going to go back to my stick and find gnome 2. So this little guy just has his hand up and a beard. So let's see. Embroidery files. See where he is here. I think it's him. There he is. Yeah, it's this one. He just has one little arm up. It's this one. Okay. Now, this one again is going to be one of those that we want to change the position of him possibly. So the bottom of his beard needs to be at the bottom of the quilting. And actually, it kind of came in that way. So let's take a look here. Let's just move him a little bit. Yeah, see, it came in. That must have been basically the centered position. You can see the bottom of the design right here. That's where the trimming's going to be, and we want the bottom of the design to be right there. So it pretty much came in right where it needed to. So this one was not, didn't need to be moved at all. So that one's actually, so his little beard is going to be like in the seam line just a little bit. So it's going to kind of cut off a little bit of his arm and in his beard right here. Okay, so that one was fine. We didn't have to move it. It actually came in pretty much centered. And then we're going to hit OK, and we're going to hit embroidery. And now we're ready to go. So I'm going to use my 5x7 hoop with my, where I lay it. Here it is. I spend most of my life looking for my hoops, my scissors, and my glasses. Okay, so I've got my 5x7 hoop over here. And I put my no-show mesh stabilizer in it since we're going to be quilting. And I've got a piece of, oh, got to get my chunk of batting up here. And then we're going to do our placement line. I put my white thread back in the bobbin, or in the needle, I should say, because I want to quilt with my white. And we're going to do the placement line for the batting. I had a couple small chunks for these littler blocks. Get our batting going here. I think I have batting on the floor now too. These are very exciting to do because I haven't never done this before. I kind of like doing videos like this. You'll have to let me know if you like doing the videos like this and having me kind of just working along with you. Because they're kind of fun for me because I haven't done these, and I've done enough of them that I know kind of what to do. But so I apologize if I make a mistake here or there because I've never done this design before, but I think we're doing okay. And the Let Me Call You Tweetheart was fun too, because it's so fun for me because it's all new to me, and all the blocks turn out so cute. And, all right, so there is our little design, ready to have the batting trimmed, and then we'll do the batting placement, or the fabric placement line. So once you get through these kind of designs and, like, you know, Let Me Call You Tweetheart, you're going to be an expert when it comes to these quilting designs. I really do love doing, especially the pillows this way. They're just so easy, and you can just pick, you know, 2 or 3. Don't pick, I mean, and you can pick as many as you want. I have all of the St. Patrick's Day, so I could have just been mixing and matching. But when I was doing a video, I just didn't want to have people think they had to buy like 6 designs to do this. I just picked 3, and I figured that was going to be fine, and it's going to look adorable. All right, so we're doing our placement line for the fabric, and then we're going to slip our fabric in here and tack it down and do the quilting. I love this yellow. This is the only one that had the yellow. I really like this kind of goldish yellow. Okay, so let's see if I can get it in there pretty even. There we go. It's going to tack it down, and then we're going to quilt it. And I'm looking at see what goes on first. I think we're going to do arms first on the little gnome here. Looking to see what we do. The next one's going to have legs again. Okay, so now I'm going to start my quilting. Okay, start the quilting, and then I'll come back in a moment and we'll start working on our little gnome. Okay, so the first step of the little gnome, and I'm looking over here on my, I like to follow these instructions over here where all the just the stops are, because it makes it easier than trying to read all these words. I usually try to kind of skim them, but I have a tendency to use this to help me. So we're going to do his little arms first. And I have my emerald green, which is, I think, 507. Let me check my number. I think it's 507. Emerald green. So we're going to do his little satin arms, and then we're going to do, I think we're going to place his beard next. Okay, so we're going to do the beard outline next, and I switched over to my dark Texas orange. It's 1255 to do the beard. I always like to do the tack downs and the placement lines in the same color that I'm going to do the satin stitches. It just saves me trouble later if I have a problem later that I accidentally forget it's not a satin stitch or something. All right, so here's that. And then we're going to lay our fabric on here. Second, I got a great big long tail. I'm going to lay my fabric on here for the beard with that pretty orange with all the little swirls. Okay, and then we're going to do the tack down line in the same color, and then we're going to trim the fabric. This one's going to be a nice basic one with the applique. Trim our fabric. Yeah, I was really excited to do this one. I'm so glad I decided to do it. Okay, so we're going to trim our fabric close to the stitches, and I think we have to do it all the way around. Yeah, this is going to be down in the seam allowance, so you can trim right up to the stitches here at the bottom too. I'm just going to trim around, hopefully. I've got the new scissors in my cart because I need new scissors. That'll be the next thing I do this evening, is order my scissors. How annoying is that if your scissors aren't very good, right? Okay, so there's our beard. And then the next step is going to be the placement line for the hat. Yeah, the hat. And probably does the body too, I think, because I think the whole thing, I just have this one piece. So let's see here. Oh no, this is just the hat. This one just has a hat. Sorry, I'm looking at the next one on the next page. So this one just has a hat. So I've got my little piece of glitter vinyl here, and I'm going to do let me get my green in. So this is my emerald green again. The 507 emerald green. Matches my glitter vinyl well. And then I'm going to do the placement line. I'm going to go ahead, and while this is doing the placement line, we're going to take that, I love these polka dot glitter vinyls. I'm going to take that plastic carrier sheet off so that we just have the pretty vinyl showing. And this is the one, I think this is the one that I hope it's big enough. Because I remember when I was cutting this out, I just barely had enough glitter vinyl in the kit, in the embellishment kit. I don't know, they must have shorted it by just a little bit. And I think it's big enough. Let's see, ooh, good. Just barely. Yeah, so I have to make sure, I've got to be a little careful here to make sure I got it. It's the width, because it was about a ½ an inch too narrow. So I think we're okay though. Yeah, that looks good. All right, so we're going to put this down. I'm going to kind of hold it down, and this is going to then be the tack down. I'm going to do it in the same color. And then we're going to trim it and then press our vinyl down. I love the polka dot. It's hard to find the polka dot. Really, Kimberbell is the only one that has it. It's real hard to find it otherwise. I buy a lot of other vinyls, other places, but I can't find the glitters or the polka dot, so I always have that from Kimberbell because they have about 4 or 5 colors. And they use it quite often. So, and this one's definitely going to be, it's good. See, we want to have matching thread for the tack down because this one is going to be a decorative stitch also. So we'll trim this down. Second here. Trim it up to the stitches. Just be careful. Not to, I have a little trouble trimming the polka dot because I have to be careful not to catch, where the little holes are. So. Because basically what it is just it's glitter vinyl with little holes in it, and then it shows what's underneath. And they sometimes even attach the glitter vinyl with the holes in it to another color of fabric, and then you do both of them together. I've done a couple of those like that. I think it was in, let's see, one of the Halloween ones. We did that a couple of times, that you actually attach the polka dot glitter vinyl to another fabric. And then then you put both of them down at the same time. It's kind of cool. So you iron it on first, and then you use it as an applique. So this one, they're going to have yellow polka dots on his little hat. Okay, so get that. I've got this little space up in here yet. Whoops. Must have gotten around that way. Let's see if I can turn it. Didn't get around the other side here. There we go. Okay, oops. Let's get that trimmed up a little bit. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and press this. So give me a second here. I'm going to angle the camera over here so you can kind of see me pressing, and I'm going to take my hoop and my little Nifty Notions mini iron, one of my favorite toys. I'm going to cover this up with my pressing cloth. And see, this is a smaller hoop, so see, it still fits in that hoop. I just love this little iron. So we're going to press it down. I usually do about 15 seconds maybe. Make sure it's completely pressed down. And I like to let it cool just a minute before I sew on it again. Okay. There's that. Ooh, that looks pretty. Like that. Okay. Let's turn this back down. Alright, so we're going to let this cool just a minute. And then the next step is going to be it's going to do his gloves. His little glove. He's got a little glove up here. So we're going to put the black in and sew out his little glove. So I'm using my 900 black. And I think, does he have a little cuff too? This one, he has a different color cuff. I think they did this one in the gray. Yeah, the gray, 817, my gray. So he has a little different color cuff on his glove. Do that. And I'll get my gray ready. This is number 817. It's the old original gray. Some of the old colors, the original 60, are still my favorite colors. I use a lot of the other colors now too, but I still go back to some of these for my basics. Like my favorite red is the 800 red, and my favorite green, emerald green, is that 507 emerald green. Christmas green and Christmas red, you know. So those were good ones. And then there's a really nice lime green. This is the new lime green. It's a little bit more yellow. So I'm going to put the gray in, 817 gray, and this is going to be his little cuff, and then we're going to move on to his beard. So I'll get my, what is it, 1255 dark Texas orange for his beard here. And that's going to be, I believe it's a satin stitch. No, it's a decorative stitch. So see, it's good that we used our same color for the tack down, because it might have shown. So that's why I always change now. I didn't used to. I used to just use like whatever color was in the machine, but I've gotten burned too many times. So I started changing, and I always do now. So now we're going to do the decorative stitches on both sides of his beard. Okay, so now we're ready to do the decorative stitch around his hat, and I went back to my 507 emerald green, and it's also going to be a decorative stitch. So it's a good thing we used the matching tack down. So off it goes, and I'll be back when this one is done, and then we'll be ready to trim. Okay, and the actual last step in this design is a placement stitch, which is what helped bring him down to the bottom of the block. So that one is not, you don't have to stitch that one. So the last step, we actually aren't going to stitch. So give me a moment, and I'm going to set up, and then we can do the trimming on him. Okay, so here's our little gnome, and he's going to have a little button nose too, and I think he has like a little flower, a little watering can in his hand up here, so that'll be a little button, I think. So this one's going to be 4.5 by 4.5. So remember, we wanted the bottom of his beard to be right on the cut line, so I'm just going to kind of get this lined up here along the bottom of his beard. I'm kind of looking at all the lines all the way around to make sure I kind of got it centered. Those placement or the tack down lines for the fabric really help you with the cutting, because it's so much easier to get the ruler centered. And then I'm going to take this is the 4.5 by 4.5 orange pop ruler. I'm going to take my 6.5 by 6.5 orange pop ruler, and I'm going to lay it over the top just so I have a little bit more to hang on to. And we're going to give him a trim here. Love this Martelli mat. I struggled with mats for a long time because they don't, some of them do not move, do not turn, and they catch. So like you'd be ready to turn and you turn it and then you'd like move your entire block. So this is like a lazy Susan on the bottom, and it works great. Okay. Let's have like I said, I got to go get my blade. I'm trying to finish the video, and I need to go get the blade, change my rotor cutter. There we go. Oh my gosh, isn't he cute? So there is gnome number 2, and then the next one is going to have some legs again. So I was looking at the third one, and you're going to make the legs. So looking at this one, so you need to make the legs just like you did the first one. So I'm going to go make my little legs first because we've already done it, and I know you can all do it without seeing it again. So you're just going to take your little legs and you're going to press them, and then you're going to stitch down each side, okay? And the legs for the third gnome are going to be black and white instead of the green and white. So I'm going to go make my little legs first before I come onto the camera to do the rest of the block, but then we're going to do gnome number 3. So there's our first 2, and we're ready for the third one. Okay, so we're ready for gnome number 3, and he's also going to have legs. So like I said earlier, you're going to make your little legs the same way as you did the green and white stripe. These are black and white striped on mine anyway, and I just took the little 1 inch by 4.5 inch, and I folded it in half, and then I folded the raw edges in and then flipped it and then sewed them down. So this was just like we did the other ones, okay? Now this one isn't going to have feet on it. It is going to have feet, but they're going to be buttons. So we're just going to put these on the bottom of the gnome, and then we'll be putting little buttons on the bottom for the shoes later. Okay, so this one is going to be, we got some glitter vinyl for his body and his hat. This little guy's going to have a white beard, so he's got a white beard on mine. Here's his little legs that I've already made. So I think I showed you how to do that with the green one, so I'm sure you'll be fine doing these. We do them the same way. I tied the little knots in the middle to make his knees. And then I'm going to have this nice gray for the background fabric. Okay. So this one is going to be, I'm going to look at the bottom, and it says it's going to be 4.5 by 6.5 inch trimmed. So that means that we're going to be using a quilting design that's 4 by 6. I can use my 5 by 7 hoop then. So I've got my 5 by 7 hoop here, and I've got my no-show mesh stabilizer in it. Sorry, my eye itches. Second here. And then it also says that there's special trimming instructions. So that means that we're going to have to pay attention to where this is in the hoop. So you can see in the trimming instructions here, it says that his little tush is going to be, like the first one, is going to be 1/4 inch above the trimming line. So we'll have to pay attention when we bring it up in the machine. So let's go ahead and get our plaid 4 by 6 quilting design first. Go. So many designs. There we go. Plaid. And then we're going to do 4 by, whoops, got in the wrong folder. Let's get the embroidered designs, Jan. 4 by 6. So here's 4 by, yeah, 4.5 by 6.5. So 4 by 6. Finished. And then I'm going to set that. And then we're going to bring in gnome number 3. So I'm going to hit the little add button down here and go get gnome 3. So this is a little guy with his hands stretched up in the air. Both hands are stretched up in the air. So let's see if we can find him. All right, we're getting done with most of the blocks. This is about one of the last embroidered blocks. There's one more. And then the rest of them are going to be piece. So we're making really good progress. Oh, here he is. No, that's the first one. Here he is, right here. So here he is with both his little arms in the air. Okay. So now we need to make sure that his little tush is 1/4 inch from the bottom. So it's going to basically be on the line. That is the batting line. So it does need to come down a little bit. So I'm going to hit edit and move. And so this is the cutting line basically at the bottom here. And then the 1/4 of an inch is going to be this line right here. That would be the batting line. So I'm going to move him down to that line so his little tush is about on that line. And then it'll be 1/4 of an inch from the cut line. So I think we'll be good. That looks good. He was centered this way, so I think he'll be good. We just moved him down a little bit. All right. So let's go ahead and sew out our little gnome. First step, I got my white in my needle, my embroidery bobbin thread in my bobbin. Here's my no-show mesh and my 5x7 hoop, and we're going to start out with our placement line for our batting. Hopefully. Here we go. Yeah, I've got my little tail as usual. And then we'll start on the little gnome. He's going to be so cute. So we're going to put little legs. The placement line for his legs, I think, is going to be one of the first things that we're going to do after we quilt too. So at least, hopefully I got a big enough chunk of batting here that'll work. I think so, just barely. Sure saves a lot of time not having to cut all that batting. In the instructions for the quilting designs, it does tell you to cut your batting pieces down, but you still got to trim them. So it's like, I hate to spend all that time cutting and then still have to trim, so I just throw chunks up here. So I always have little scraps of batting around. This works very well. It's much faster. Use up all my little batting scraps that way. So, and it saves me a lot of time trimming or cutting. I'm not a big, I don't like to cut. I never have. All right. Then we're going to trim our batting down. Uh-oh, I'm about to have help again, I think. Sorry, guys, if you see an orange cat come flying this way. She's upset because I've been busy working on these videos the last couple of days, and I haven't paid enough attention. She's down here scratching on my leg. We'll see if she shows up in the middle of my lap here in a minute. All right, we're going to trim our batting down. Okay, and then the next step will be the placement line for the fabric. So let's stitch out number 3 for the placement line for the fabric. Get my fabric ready here. It's another one of those pretty, I like that gray with the little lines in it. It's one of my favorite fabrics they have. They have this in several different colors, that same one. They have a blue and a brown and kind of a tan, creamy color. So it's a nice, they make nice backgrounds. Okay, so then we're going to lay this in and cover our batting. Try to get it as centered as possible here. There we go. And then the next step, we'll tack that down. And the next video, we're going to be doing some piecing. We're going to piece some pinwheel blocks. There's quite a few, actually. I think there might be 5 or 6. And then I'm going to show you how to quilt those, because those will be quilted a slightly different way. And then we're also going to do the flying geese block. And that one's actually pieced on the hoops. That's nice. Okay, so I'm off to the quilting here. I'll turn the video off for a moment while this is going, and I'll get ready for the beginning of the gnome. Okay, so we're going to do the placement lines down here for the little legs. So we're going to put our legs on first. So I put my emerald green in, my 507 emerald green back in to make those, because that's going to be kind of under the green glitter vinyl. So I want to make sure that it doesn't show. And then we're going to put our little legs in. So these don't have any feet on the bottom, but we'll put the little buttons. It's like little gardening boots. I think it's like little rubber boots that you put on the bottom of these. And it's a button that comes in the little button pack in the embellishment kit. I love the embellishment kits because then you don't have to try to figure out what things you're supposed to go get. All right, so we're going to put our little legs in here. And you're supposed to put them about 1/4 of an inch above the line and tape them down. So I need another piece of tape. Something a little longer here. So I'm going to try to get these oriented. I didn't do very well on my knot on this one for some reason. His knee's kind of tight, so I'm going to loosen this knot a little bit. Seems like I got it kind of tight. That's better. All right. So we're going to put these in about 1/4 of an inch above that line. And then I'm going to take my tape and I'm going to tape them down. And we're going to leave this tape on for a little while. So while we're doing all these placement lines, make sure I didn't move that one. I think I got it okay. To make sure I didn't move it. There we go. I think it's all right. Let's see this side. I have a tendency to kind of move things sometimes. Oops. I really moved that one, didn't I? Let's see if I can get my tape off a little bit. Okay, well, Jan, we'll just start over, you know. I have a hard time with tape. I'm always pulling things off. Let's see here. Where's my little leg? I wanted to put the outsides. I'm trying to get the outside, the openings on the outside of my little legs. I think I got the out. There we go. This has been the hardest thing for me is to get these little things adjusted. They're separate. So it's kind of hard to get them adjusted. Here we go. Okay. I'm going to tape them down and push it down really well. There we go. I think I did it. I have a hard time with little stuff like that. That's the stuff that I have the most trouble with is little stuff like that. I'm going to watch that little piece of tape right there because it's a little folded. Now the next step is going to tack these down. I'm just going to leave my green in. And I think the next step is going to be, his arm. So we're just going to leave this tape on here. And I'm going to go to my 1300 golden basket to do his little arms. So his arms are gold, and then his outfit is going to be greens. We're going to use all 3 of the greens we have here for his little outfit. So there's his legs. Got them in there. All right, so I'm going to take the green out. Let's put in the golden basket, which is that gold. 1300, I think, is the number on this one. All right, so then we're going to do his little arms, the satin stitches of his little arms, and then I think we're going to move on to the body and hat placement. So in other words, we're going to go back to the emerald green for the next step. Okay, so I got his little arms in here, and then we're going to do, the next step is going to be the placement line for his body. Now I am going to kind of watch this tape down here, because it is possible for your foot to go under the tape. Ask me how I know about that one. And then we'll remove the tape before we put the glitter vinyl on. But we're going to leave it in there until we get the get ready to put the glitter vinyl on. And then we're going to put, so this will be the placement lines, and then we'll put our glitter vinyl down. And then I think we do the beard next. So here's our placement line, and I'm going to get my glitter vinyl ready. Now remember, don't forget to take that clear carrier sheet off your glitter vinyl. Before you put it down, you don't want all that clear plastic on there. You want to see the pretty glitter. I've done that before too, so then you have to try to get it off through the stitches. It's kind of hard. It's stiff. You get all my little... Okay, so before we go any further, we're going to take this tape out of here because we don't want that tape in there under our glitter. See if I can get it out of there, but it sure keeps everything down so you don't have to worry about stuff getting caught in the needle. So I'm going to take all this out here. Whoops, I may have to use my scissors a little bit. Got this stuck in between. A second here, I'm going to put my glasses on so I can see better. This is not being cooperative. There we go. You don't want that tape in there because it'll show in our glitter. Because it's got the polka dots, so it's going to have like little gray polka dots in his outfit. Okay, so there we got that. Now we're going to lay our glitter vinyl down here. Make sure it covers everything. Sure we got plenty here. They usually are pretty generous with their stuff, but I noticed when I was cutting this kit out of the embellishment kit, it was very close to being the right size. So I was hoping I had enough. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and stitch this down. I'm just going to hold it, and it's going to do the hat. Just watch your fingers. After it kind of gets going, you can let go, but I usually kind of hang on, and I'm watching my feet down here so they don't jump. I'll probably tape them down also. So in fact, I'm going to stop the machine for just a moment and tape these before I go further. I just don't want them to jump up and get into my stitching. I'm just going to tape them down here at the bottom. There we go. All right. It's always better to be safe than sorry, right? There we go. So there's his little body. And then we're going to trim the glitter, and we're going to also do the body, trim that, and then we're going to do the beard. So we're going to trim this and press this down first. Okay. So we'll get this trimmed close to the stitches. Now be careful, don't cut your little legs off. We don't want to cut his legs off, poor little guy. When we're down here, I'm going to do that first, so I'm paying attention to what I'm doing. There we go. And he's going to have little rain boots on. Let's see. I can't remember what it looks like on this side. Oh, it's kind of straight. Okay. This is such matchy thread. It's very, you got to be careful that you don't cut through their threads, because matches very well. All right, so this is kind of at a point. I'm going to go up around this way. That's his hat. Okay, how are we doing? I think we're doing okay. Could be a little closer. Okay. Then this is kind of a point on this side of his body. Again, this is very matchy, so I'm having to be careful that I get it trimmed correctly. So that's, I guess it's sort of curved at the top. Here we go. Now I can kind of see it. It kind of curves this way, up like that. I think that looks pretty good. Yeah, it's very matchy thread, so it's very easy to, oh, this one just needs to be trimmed down a little bit more. There we go. So that's his body. I want to trim his leg off. There's a little spot here that needs to be trimmed. There we go. Looks pretty good. Now I'm going to get the rest of his hat here. And he has kind of a pointy little hat. Go this way. I think the glitter vinyl with the polka dots in it is just a little harder to trim because of all the little holes. You have to kind of watch that you're getting it trimmed the right shape, because it's just a little different, you know, with the little holes in there. So, okay. Oops, I got a little piece in here. I don't want to iron any of that down in there. Oop, and I got a little piece of thread here. Okay. So I think we got it trimmed. I'm checking here. I didn't do very well over here. That looks pretty good. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and give me just a second here. I'm going to turn the camera off for a second while I get up and get the ironing going over here. I need to flip the camera up. And I also have an orange cat on my lap, so she decided she needed to sit on my lap in the middle of the video. So she's going to have to move and she won't be happy. Just a moment, I'll be right back. Okay, so I've got my hoop over here on my little ironing mat. And my Martelli mat has this little yellow ironing mat. I just love it because then I can just lay it right on top of it. And then I can use it for cutting. So this works really well when I'm doing videos, because then everything is right here. So I'm going to cover this up with my pressing cloth. I've got my little mini iron, and we're going to press that glitter vinyl down to the fabric. So give him a little press, maybe 15-20 seconds. Put a little pressure on it. And that way it'll adhere well, and then we'll let it cool just a little bit. This iron gets very hot. I really do love this iron. This is up on our website, and it works so well for this because I do so many things I have to press into. So I really like this. I'm just going to drape my pressing cloth back there. And here's our little dude. We're going to let him cool just a little bit before we sew on him. So here he is. He's all ready. And now I think the next one we're going to do is the beard placement line. So now this beard, it was funny because the decorative line, they said orange, but he actually has a white beard. So I'm going to do this in white. So I'm going to put white in my machine to do his beard because he has a white beard. Because the beard decorative line, they have it in like a little orange dot next to it, and it really, I think it should be white because, you know, he's got a white beard. We don't want orange around the outside of his white beard. So we're going to use white. Let's get that. We'll do the decorative or the placement line first. Okay. And then we'll put his beard on. There we go, put him back in here. All right, so we're ready for his beard. Oh, and then the beard is white, just so you know. So I wasn't, now this would have probably been fine, but I thought maybe you might see a little bit of the green and through it. So I did put a piece of Shape Flex on the back of this beard fabric because it's white. So I was afraid you might see a little bit of the green through it. So I did put the white, I did put Shape Flex on it just for the, you know, sometimes I do that with the light colored things. So, okay. So then we're going to put our beard in here. And then the next step is going to tack it down. And I'm going to do that in the white also. Now the beard is going to be a decorative stitch, so definitely use your color that's going to match what your final beard outline is going to be. Because otherwise it'll show. And then I think we're going to move on to, oh, he has a little clover on his forehead too. All right, so we'll trim our beard. Trim our little beard. Well, this one's intricate. He's got all kinds of little curves in his beard. I love the little swirls in there. Isn't that cute? Makes it look like hair. So cute. All right, let's see here. Get this down here. Need to be a little closer there. This one's got kind of a little curve in it. Goes up. It's a little harder to trim with the Shape Flex on the back, but I thought it might cover better. So I just stuck that on because I wasn't sure if it would cover or not. So anytime I put like a light colored fabric on top of a dark one, I usually put a piece of Shape Flex on it. And sometimes if it's really dark, I'll even put 2 on it, just to keep it from coming through. So I think that looks good. Okay, so now we're going to do the little clover, and I went to the 1262 Valley green. So we're going to do the lighter green on his forehead here. And then we're going to use all 3 of the greens in this one. So we're going to use the emerald, the lime, and this little valley green. So this is valley green. Then we're going to make the little shamrock. He has a little decoration on the top of his hat here. So there's the shamrock. Okay, so I've got the little shamrock up here on his forehead, and now we're going to do this is going to be the body. Oh, it is a satin stitch instead of a decorative. So this one is going to do, I've got the emerald green back in, 507, and it's going to do a satin stitch along the bottom of his body here. And then, so I am going to kind of watch his legs to make sure nothing happens here. And then it's going to, I think we also do his hat, but we might do his beard in between here. So here's his body. He's going to have a satin stitch. Okay, so we're ready for his beard. And the body and the hat are satin stitches, but the beard's going to be the decorative stitch. So I did put my white thread in. The little dot says orange, but I think that might have been just like a mistake because he has a white beard, so I want his outline to be white also. Okay, so we've got the little beard, and it's a little decorative stitch. I'll get a little closer so you can see. It's a little decorative stitch around his beard, and now it's going to go around his hat with a satin stitch. So I put my emerald green number 507 back in, and away we go with the hat, and then we're going to move on to his little gloves. He has gloves and his little cuffs, and then there's a little flower stem in his hand also. Okay, so I'm ready for his little gloves, and they're going to be the 1262 Valley Green, and we'll put white cups on them. So here's his little gloves. And then we will put in the cups, and then he also has a little flower stem in his other, I think it's in this hand. Okay, so I've started the cups after I did his little hands, and now the cups are going to be white. And then the last step will be the flower stem, and I'm going to do that in my lime green, which is, let's see, I got to find the color number. 1072 for the little lime green little stem. It's going to be in this hand, I think. Okay, so I'm put in my lime green 1070. Is it 1072? I think. Yeah, lime green, and I'm going to put the little flower stem in his hand, and then we'll be ready to trim him. Oh my gosh, he's so cute. I really like the little legs that dangle. Those are really cute. So we're going to take this out of the hoop, but I'll set up and we'll give him a trim, and then we'll be done with our 3 gnome blocks. So give me a moment and I'll be right back to do the trimming. Okay, I'm ready to trim my last little gnome block, and I got to get his legs up out of the way. So we're gonna pin, or we're gonna tape his legs up here in the middle so we won't get them cut off. And this is the one that we want it to be, his little tush needs to be 1/4 of an inch from the trimming line. So he's going to be trimmed to 4.5 by 6.5. So I've got the line here to help me, and I just want to make sure that his little tush is 1/4 of an inch above there. So I'm going to line this up with my 4.5 by 6.5 ruler, pop ruler. And I'm going to lay my bigger ruler on top just to give me something to hang on to. Okay. Open my blade, and we're going to trim this one. What a cute little block. I love these. I'm really enjoying this one. This one has a lot of fun little blocks in it. They're small, so they go pretty quick. There's quite a few of them, though, obviously. We're going to have to quilt some more yet because there's a bunch of empty ones, or like just plain blocks that have to be quilted yet. So we'll be doing some more quilting and things yet. So, all right. There is the little guy. And let me get the tape off of him so you can see his little legs. Now, he's going to have little rain boots that are buttons on the bottom of his legs. So here is Gnome 3. So this is Gnome 3. Pull this up just a little bit so you can see all the little blocks. Here's Gnome 2. So he's just the little top of the little gnome with his hat, and he's going to have, they're all going to have like little buttons, little wood buttons on their noses. And then here's the first gnome we did, and he has the little shoes on the bottom. So aren't those adorable? So thank you so much for joining me for part 3 of Luck of the Gnome. And the next video, we're going to be, in video number 4, we're going to be doing some traditional piecing. So we're going to actually make some pinwheel blocks. And then I'm going to show you how to quilt the pinwheel blocks, because you have to piece them traditionally, and then you have to quilt them. And I'll show you how to do that. And then the next, and then we're also going to do the flying geese block. And that is actually quilted, pieced and quilted in the hoop. So we'll do all the pieced blocks next in the next video. So we're going to do pinwheels and flying geese. So thank you so much for joining me for part 3 of Luck of the Gnome, and we will go on to part 4 and do some piecing next time. Thanks everybody. Have a good night.